Well, we're here with comedian extraordinaire Guy Montgomery. How are you, Guy?
I'm good, thank you, Mitch. How are you?
Good, thanks for joining me. Can we just kind of start off by saying, did you ever think that Guy Mont-Spelling Bee would be this successful and this popular?
No, of course not. I think I didn't even have a vision for how successful or popular it could be. I mean, the genuine initial motivation was just something to do during the lockdown. And I suppose it was, opportunistic in that I knew all of my comedian friends around the world were also sitting around. And I sort of have always, I obviously like language and thought spelling had a good sort of universal access point to it. But the grand vision was never, to make it to these chairs and talk to you. It was just to have a bit of fun.
Obviously you do live comedy as well and stand-up comedy. What do you find are the big differences between the two?
Making Spelling Bee, both in Australia and in New Zealand, requires a lot more work and it's a lot more collaborative, but it also feels materially to me, there's a greater sense of the work going in to achieve what you want to make. Whereas with stand-up, because when you first do stand-up, you just do it sort of because you love it. You do it because you think you might be funny and you want to see what it feels like to stand up there and get a laugh. And even if your profile grows or your audience grows, the actual practice of figuring out the material and putting a show together doesn't change from when you first are putting together a 5-minute set to when you're 15 years in and you're putting together an hour-long show. Ultimately, you're still sifting through your ideas, figuring out what's funny, and collaborating with the audience in that respect, where you're getting up and figuring it out with them. Whereas with Spelling Bee, I work with, there's an amazing team, Kevin and Co, a New Zealand-based production company, and they've actually got an Australian arm now who co-produced the Australian version with the ABC. But there's an amazing team there, and creatively, my main collaborator is Joseph Moore, who's like a generational comedy brain, two hearts. And so that's a lot more. You have to have refined the product to a point before you're performing it, because a TV taping, you only get one bite at the apple.
Did I hear that when you were kind of experimenting over in Canada, you hoped that you would kind of bomb and just like that was part of going over?
It was not, no one hopes to bomb necessarily. It was an openness to failing away from people I knew. There was a greater willingness from me to just go and be bad at something. And I think doing it in a place where I didn't know anyone absolutely diminished the opportunity for embarrassment, and so probably emboldened me somewhat. Besides
the kind of the stand-up and the TV show, you're a busy guy. What do you get up to in your spare time?
Well, I struggled with it's hard to pin down a description of a hobby that doesn't sound unbelievably boring, but I live a very ordinary life. I read books, sort of constantly trying to organize a round of golf that never quite materializes.
You a big golfer?
I'm an enthusiastic golfer. I'm a big golfer in the sense that I can put up some big numbers. I think I love it. I love the experience of getting out there, but I'm currently, the period of life I'm in is not a time that lends itself to playing as much golf as it might be necessary to feel the traction of improvement.
Awesome. And you're taking on sort of a stepfather role as well.
Yes.
How are you finding that?
Well, I suppose I've been doing it for 7 years now, so I don't know that I'm still taking it on so much as doing it as part of the fabric of my life. I love it. It's incredible. It's a funny thing because it's not something that you necessarily expect for yourself, or it's not something that you necessarily aspire towards. It's something that happens based on who you fall in love with, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, and how is that that relationship too in terms of work? How do you guys manage in terms of you both got different projects going on?
Well, you just sort of you do your best. It is both of our jobs mean that we it comes in fits and starts, I guess, and so you do have to balance who's doing what at what times. You exercise as much agency as you do over both of your calendars, but it just means that it's probably been really beneficial for our communication because there's always open communication about what we're both doing professionally, and then that bleeds into, well, you know, what are we, your free time as well, you're a lot more, I guess, across what's happening. And, you know, Chelsea, the whole time we've been together has been working on this feature film idea that she had that got funded and filmed and directed it last year in Wellington, called Caterpillar. And so, you know, that was amazing to then, I'd been touring Australia, and then when that came up, we could, you know, I could go down and support her in Wellington while she was filming, and then we come back up to Auckland and she's been deep in post-production. And so, you know, it's
nice and symbiotic, really, isn't
yeah,
it?
well, you make it work as best you can. I'd say it's just a different version of the same thing everyone in a relationship is balancing.
Let's talk about the tour. Let's talk about the tour. It's very exciting. What are you most excited about from this tour?
Well, I mean, to call it a tour might be overstating it somewhat. It's just
Couple of dates.
No, it's actually I've done the Wellington show. It's just one date, so it's in Auckland. It's the end. To me, what it represents is the end of the tour. So it's the culmination of, I suppose, a year's worth of work on this show, traveling the show, performing the show. And I'm super excited. I've never performed a solo show at the Kiri Te Kanawa before, so that's incredibly exciting because I've opened for Reece Darby there, and I've performed some gala spots there, and it's a genuinely really beautiful theatre. I've watched some shows there, and I suppose there's a real joy in bringing something that you've been working really hard on home. And so to get to play to a home audience and finish the tour in that way is really exciting.
And what can people expect from your stand-up set coming up? What are we going to get a best hits? Are we going to get...
No, if you've not... it's all new. I did a show last year. My show was called 50 Million Guy Fans Can't Be Wrong. And it doesn't share a single joke with that show. So it's a brand new hour of material. It's the first time I work with a director, a friend called Carlo Ritchie, who's an unbelievably talented improviser and stand-up. And so I think it's probably got a more taut and, I would argue, satisfying structure as an hour-long piece than perhaps, you know, previous shows, while I still structure them as more of an assembly of your stand-up bits that you've been working out in clubs, whereas this exists more as a cohesive whole. I mean, I've toured this show, you know, I've performed it over 50 times, touring it around Australia, so it's in really good shape.
Well, thanks so much, Guy. What a pleasure to talk to you. And
thanks so much
have
to
an
you.
amazing last show. I can't wait to be there and check it out.
I appreciate it.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks a lot, man. Nice to talk.